One goalkeeper made more saves in a single match than the Golden Glove winner made in the entire tournament. Another waited until he was 40 years old for the whole world to finally notice him. And those weren't even the only goalkeeper stories that stood out this World Cup. Because when you look at what actually happened, there are 5 lessons here that every young goalkeeper needs to understand. And the first one comes from probably my favorite story of them all. Vozinha was 40 years old, and in Cabo Verde's first ever World Cup match, they played Spain, the eventual World Cup champions. Spain had chance after chance, but Vozinha made 7 saves and helped Cabo Verde get a 0-0 draw. And suddenly, at 40 years old, the whole world was talking about him. Because it is so easy to look at another goalkeeper your age and suddenly feel like you're already behind. Maybe he's in a better academy, maybe she's already training with the older team, maybe another goalkeeper is getting national team call-ups, while you're still trying to become number 1 at your own club. But goalkeeping doesn't work in a perfect timeline. Some goalkeepers develop early, some develop later, and where another goalkeeper is at 14, 16, or even at 20, doesn't decide where either of you will eventually end up. If another goalkeeper is ahead of you right now, learn from them, use it as motivation if you want, but don't turn their progress into proof that you're running out of time. You don't need to be ahead of them right now, you just need to keep improving your own game. Because sometimes you wait for years, and sometimes it arrives halfway through a match when you weren't expecting to play at all. Belgium were playing Spain in the quarterfinals. Thibaut Courtois started in goal, but in the 71st minute he got injured and suddenly Senne Lammens had to come on. And now he was being thrown into a quarterfinal against Spain. A little later, Kuparsi hit a shot from distance, Lammens couldn't hold it, and Spain scored from the rebound. And I'm not saying this to criticize Lammens, I'm a huge Manchester United fan and I love Lammens, but I think this shows just how difficult it is to be a backup goalkeeper. For more than 70 minutes you're sitting on the bench thinking you're probably not gonna play, then suddenly the number 1 goes down, and this is where being number 2 gets really difficult. If you know you're probably not gonna play, you watch the game as a fan, you talk to the players beside you, and mentally you start switching off. But as a goalkeeper, you can't do that. Because if your moment comes, you probably won't get 20 minutes to prepare yourself. You might get a couple of minutes to get your gloves on, maybe warm up, and then just go. So if you're on the bench right now, you need to follow the game as if you're gonna play the next minute. Watch what the starting goalkeeper is dealing with. How is the other team attacking? What are the crosses like? Are they shooting from distance? Because you might sit on the bench for 10 games and not get a single minute. But when your opportunity finally comes, you don't want to spend the first 5 minutes trying to switch yourself on. But being on the bench is only start of preparation. Just watch Nyland save this penalty against Brazil. Bruno Guimaraes steps up, Nyland gets a cross and makes a huge save. It looked like a brilliant reaction in the moment, but according to Nyland, part of that save happened before he even walked onto the pitch. He had studied the Brazilian players before the game, he had worked with his goalkeeper coaches, the analysts, and even his mental coach to prepare for exactly what Brazil might throw at him. And of course, if you're 13 or 14 years old, you probably don't have a team of analysts studying the opponent before you play, but you probably know more than you think. Have you played this team before? Does their striker always try to take the ball around you? Where do the corners normally go? Have you seen this penalty taker before? Even small bits of information can give you an advantage. And preparation isn't only about studying the opponent, it's also about knowing your own game. If crosses have been causing you problems, work on them during the week. If your distribution keeps putting your team under pressure, don't wait until match day and hope it suddenly gets better. The problems that keep showing up in matches should always help decide what you work on before the next one. Because sometimes what looks like an unbelievable reaction on Saturday started with the work you did in the week. And if you're not really sure what you actually should be working on as a young goalkeeper, I put together a free goalkeeper cheat sheet that can help. You can download it completely free using the link below. Now, Nyland had one of those games where you could clearly see the impact he had, but some of the best goalkeeping this World Cup looked completely different. Just take Eloy room. Against Ecuador, he made 16 saves. 16? It was a World Cup record for a 90-minute match. Now, compare that to Golden Glove winner Unai Simon. Spain won the World Cup, and Simon kept a record 7 clean sheets in 8 games, and Spain only conceded 1 goal in the entire tournament. But across all 8 matches, Simon made just 14 saves, and Room made 16 in 1 game. And this is where a lot of young goalkeepers judge their own performance completely wrong. You finish a game where you made 7 or 8 saves, and naturally you feel like you played well. Then the next week you barely touch the ball and you walk off thinking you did nothing. But how many saves you made says nothing about how well you played. Sometimes a really good goalkeeper performance means making save after save, and sometimes it's just standing there for 25 minutes with almost nothing to do, then being ready when one shot finally comes. That can actually be difficult, because when shots are coming at you all the time, you're automatically more involved in the game. But when nothing is happening, that's when your concentration can start to disappear. So after your next game, don't ask yourself, how many saves did I make today? Ask yourself, did I deal with what actually came my way? Because one week that might mean making 8 saves, and the next might mean making 1. Because even if you've been brilliant for 89 minutes, goalkeeping has its own cruel way of reminding you that your next action still matters. Remember Nyland from earlier? Against Brazil, he saved a penalty, made some huge saves, and helped Norway knock one of the favorites out of the World Cup. Then, a few days later, Norway played England. Morgan Rogers hit a powerful shot in extra time, Nyland couldn't hold it, the ball dropped to Jude Bellingham, and England scored the goal that knocked Norway out of the World Cup. Same goalkeeper, same tournament, 2 completely different moments, and that's goalkeeping. Making a save 5 minutes ago doesn't make the next shot any easier. But thankfully, making a mistake 5 minutes ago doesn't decide what happens with the next shot either. Nyland couldn't change what happened against England, and what he did against Brazil was already in the past. And you can't change your last action either. So when something happens, good or bad, give yourself a moment, take a breath, get back into position, and always keep your focus on the next action. And if you struggle to get your confidence back after a mistake, watch this video next and I'll show you exactly what I think you should do.